The Pentagon announced an order from Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth mandating that all physical fitness requirements for combat arms positions, that is, units who are most likely to see significant fighting in wartime, be sex neutral. All right, it means the Pentagon has effectively eliminated the Biden era's lower physical fitness standards for women in combat roles, returning the military to its intended goal of being prepared to fight and win wars. So what does this mean for our military? What will be the implications upon the fighting force? Well, joining me now to talk about this is Congressman Pat Harrigan from North Carolina's 10th Congressional District. He's a member of the House Armed Services Committee. He's a graduate of West Point and a decorated member of the Green Beret Special Forces in the United States Army. Congressman Harrigan is uniquely qualified, I believe, to discuss this topic with me. Congressman, welcome back to Washington Watch. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, Tony, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me back again.
Let me ask you this question. What do you think?
Look, I would tell all viewers, combat is completely and totally unforgiving. It's something that demands physical strength, endurance, mental toughness. The enemy simply does not adjust based on who you are or where you came from. It pushes everybody to their limits, and it simply punishes weakness without hesitation. And so I think that the Pentagon made exactly the right decision this week by ending gender-based physical fitness standards for all combat roles. And I think from now on, every single soldier in a combat unit will be held to the same expectations regardless of sex, and that's exactly how it should be.
Well, and even female soldiers who have been a part of combat operations have said this is a good thing because we want to meet the same standards so that we get the same amount of respect.
That's exactly right. I mean, Major Kristen Greist, who was the second woman ever to have graduated from Ranger School, has said very clearly that lower standards for women simply reinforce the belief that women can't perform the same job as men. And I think what we've got to understand is this makes it more difficult for women to earn the trust and confidence of their teammates. I think that the Pentagon's new policy simply puts everybody on the same playing field. We know that you're going to hit a certain standard, you're going to have a certain capability, and you're not going to fall below that. We're not going to get substandard performance out of you. That's how you build trust in a military unit.
And Pat, I have to ask this. Those that are responding to, oh, this is horrible, this is such discriminatory tactics and policies. But look what's been happening over the last year and a half, 2 years, especially in this fall's election, when it comes to women's sports. There's a recognition that there is a physical difference between men and women. And if it matters on the basketball court, it certainly should matter on the field of battle.
Without a doubt. I mean, a long time ago, at West Point, we studied the quote, upon the fields of friendly strife are sown the seeds that upon other fields on other days will bear the fruits of victory. And we've got to understand that sports is simply a testing ground for future abilities in combat. And we've got to understand that once you get to combat, you can't lose. There's no restarting. There's no moving on to the next game. You have to win, and you've got to have everybody on the team up to standards and up to snuff, carrying their own weight. You've got to understand that if we've got 115, 120 pound women on a special forces team, they got to be able to carry and pick up that 220 pound guy if he gets hit. And vice versa, right? Everybody on the team's got to pull their weight and the weight of those to their left and to their right. Creating even keel level fitness standards is exactly how you prepare our military to be ready to fight and actually win in combat.
Congressman, I know this is a new policy just announced this week, but I know there's been some briefings that have taken place. So let me just ask you this question. What do we know about those women that under the previous policy were already in combat positions? What happens if they don't meet these new uniform standards?
I don't know exactly what will happen to them. I have not been briefed on what the Pentagon's policy is, but I'll tell you, if you don't meet the standard, from my opinion, in my perspective, in my experience, you shouldn't be in the military. You certainly should not be in those combat roles. There is a certain element of respect that comes from being able to meet the standard. And when we waver on our standards, when we lower our standards to accommodate folks that can't meet the standard, we have fundamentally changed the standard, and we've changed the readiness. We have changed the capability of that unit wherever those decisions are made. And so, look, if you want to be in combat arms, you now have to meet one standard. If you are above that threshold, you're in the game. If you're below that threshold, you shouldn't be.
And that applies to both men and women, and it doesn't matter if you can't meet it because of your age. I mean, it's unforgiving. You either meet the standard or you don't.
That's exactly right. And if you don't meet the standard, not only do you put yourself at risk, you also put those to your left and your right that you're fighting with at risk. Because like I said, if that 220-pound guy goes down and you can't get him to safety, not only are you putting his life at risk, you're also putting your own life at risk because you can't fundamentally accomplish the basic task that is expected of you. I think that Pete Hegseth has said that ends today.
Congressman, always great to see you. Thanks so much for taking time to join us today.
Good to see you, Tony. Thanks for having me.